My name doesn't matter anymore. History remembers us only as the Manson family. Some people think we were born monsters. We weren't. We became something far more dangerous. We believed we were part of a destiny that never existed. When I first met Charlie, he didn't look like someone who would change history. He looked ordinary, short, unremarkable. His clothes were worn, his beard unkempt, and his smile strangely comforting. Yet there was something about the way he spoke that made people stop and listen. Charlie never introduced himself as a cult leader. He introduced himself as someone who understood people. He knew exactly what to say. He listened when no one else did. He remembered every insecurity you confessed. Then he slowly convinced you that only he understood the truth. By the time I realized what was happening, I no longer trusted my own thoughts. It was California in 1967, the summer of love. Thousands of young people were leaving home searching for freedom, spirituality, and a different way of living. I was one of them. I thought I was escaping a world filled with lies. Instead, I walked straight into another one. Charlie talked about love. He talked about peace. He spoke about breaking free from money, rules, and society. He made us believe we were chosen, not better than everyone else, different, special. He said the world was ending. Only we understood why. We lived together on old ranches outside Los Angeles. The most famous was the Spahn Ranch. It had once been used for Western movies. By the time we arrived, it was falling apart. Broken fences, dust everywhere. Old movie sets slowly collapsing beneath the California sun. To outsiders, it looked abandoned. To us, it was home. We slept wherever there was space. Sometimes in cabins, sometimes in old trailers, sometimes beneath the stars. No one owned anything. Everything belonged to everyone. At least, that's what Charlie said. Days followed the same rhythm. We woke with the sun. Music echoed through the ranch. Charlie played guitar constantly. He believed he was destined to become a famous musician. We sang together, cooked together, used drugs together, especially LSD. Charlie insisted the drugs opened our minds. He claimed they removed the lies society had taught us. Looking back, they only made us easier to control. Charlie rarely gave direct orders. He planted ideas. He repeated them again and again and again, until eventually, you believed those ideas were your own. He convinced us that society was corrupt, that families were prisons, that governments were evil, that death itself wasn't real. He slowly erased the line between right and wrong. One subject consumed him more than anything else: the Beatles. Charlie became obsessed with their White Album. He believed the songs contained secret messages meant only for him, especially one song, Helter Skelter. To everyone else, it was simply music. To Charlie, it was prophecy. He became convinced a violent race war was coming. He even gave it a name, Helter Skelter. He claimed society would collapse, cities would burn, millions would die. Afterward, he said we would emerge from hiding to lead what remained. None of it made sense. Yet somehow, we believed him. The more time passed, the smaller my world became. I stopped speaking with my family. I stopped reading newspapers. I stopped questioning Charlie. He became the only source of truth. If he praised you, you felt alive. If he criticized you, you felt worthless. Everything revolved around pleasing him. Money became scarce. Charlie grew frustrated. He believed the world owed him success. He blamed wealthy people. He blamed Hollywood. He blamed anyone who rejected him. The peaceful speeches slowly disappeared, and something darker replaced them. One evening, Charlie gathered several of us together. His voice was calm, almost gentle. He said it was time. He never shouted. He never threatened. He simply spoke as though what he wanted was inevitable. He instructed several members to go to a house on Cielo Drive. The house had once belonged to a music producer Charlie believed had wronged him. Unknown to him, the producer had already moved away. The new residents had no connection to him. Inside that house were actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, and several friends. They had no idea anyone was coming. That night became one of the darkest nights in American history. The murders were brutal, senseless, terrifying. 5 innocent people were killed. The victims had never harmed us. They were chosen because Charlie wanted symbols, not enemies. The killers later wrote words in blood on the walls. The crime scene shocked experienced detectives. Even they struggled to comprehend the violence. Charlie wasn't there. That fact would later confuse many people. He didn't physically commit the murders. He didn't need to. Years of manipulation had already done the work. The people he controlled believed they were carrying out something greater than themselves. The following night, it happened again. Another couple, another home, another series of horrifying murders. Again, people died who had never met Charlie. Violence had become its own purpose. The entire country panicked. Newspapers described random killings unlike anything most Americans had ever seen. Rumors spread everywhere. Some believed organized crime was responsible. Others feared a serial killer. Very few suspected a commune living on an isolated ranch. For a while, nothing happened. Life at the ranch continued almost normally. Charlie acted as though nothing had changed. He played guitar. He laughed. He talked about destiny. Meanwhile, police slowly pieced together scattered clues. Ironically, the murders weren't solved immediately because of the crime scenes. The investigation gained momentum after unrelated arrests, and information from people connected to the group eventually led detectives toward the truth. The arrests came suddenly. Police vehicles surrounded the ranch. Officers searched every building. People were handcuffed. Charlie looked strangely calm, almost amused, as though he believed everything was unfolding exactly as it should. The trial captivated the world. Charlie behaved unpredictably. Sometimes he laughed. Sometimes he stared silently. Sometimes he carved an X into his forehead, saying he had removed himself from society. Several followers copied him, even sitting in a courtroom. His influence remained frighteningly strong. The evidence painted a disturbing picture. Charlie had spent years manipulating vulnerable young people. He isolated them, controlled information, encouraged heavy drug use, destroyed their identities, then convinced them to kill for an imaginary future only he could see. He was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy, despite not personally carrying out the Tate murders, because prosecutors argued he orchestrated the crimes through his influence over the group. Years passed. The ranch disappeared into history. Many members expressed remorse. Some spent decades reflecting on what they had done. Charlie never truly accepted responsibility. He continued attracting followers through letters and interviews, even while imprisoned. He died in prison in 2017 at the age of 83. People often ask how intelligent adults could follow one man so completely. The answer isn't simple. Cults rarely begin with violence. They begin with belonging. They offer acceptance, purpose, identity. Then, little by little, they replace your judgment with someone else's. By the time you realize what you've become, the person you once were is almost impossible to recognize. That is the most terrifying part of the Manson family story. Not that one man committed terrible crimes, but that he convinced ordinary people to believe they were doing something extraordinary.